the text from GW is 0% AI. How about they use AI and actually instead spend your time writing good rules?
Extremely high-pitched falsetto, yeah, that we're also
yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 12 of the Old World Behemoths podcast. We are back. The gang is back together after a little bit of a hiatus of us doing a few things individually. But on the line with me, I do have Chris, Alex, Tom, the original Behemoths. My name is Alasdair. I'm a Behemoth because right now I'm contemplating painting a steam tank. Which is not actually a behemoth, it's a chariot, but still feels pretty big for me. Chris, why are you a behemoth?
I'm a behemoth because I painted 40 Noblars in a week for an event and then didn't attend the event.
It's a pretty behemoth thing to do. Tom, why are you a behemoth?
I'm a behemoth because today and yesterday I sort of had the realization that after months and months and months, I'm still actually emotionally completely shattered by the knowledge that Andor is done. And I couldn't really believe that I came to that realization, but God damn, it hit me like a truck yesterday. And I've been sort of wallowing in my own filth, all 6'5" of it today. So that's probably why.
A true emotional behemoth, Tom.
Yeah, that's right. I'm a behemoth because I'm not afraid to show it, you know?
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the outstanding example of what masculinity should look like boiled down in one 6'4" package. Alex, why are you a behemoth?
I'm a behemoth because I'm the slayer of behemoths from the event. I faced 4 dragons on the weekend. I killed 1.
Which so I believe it puts you on the leaderboard. Special thanks to our patrons before we do anything else. The list is getting a bit longer. It's a little longer since the last time I did this. Thank you to Death 1942, Ghost Panda, Wargaming, Joshua 6, Silver Dave, Gomo, Bonehead, Earl of Kent, Ula Zed, the WSG boys, WSWG boys, the Orange Juicer, Big Daddy H. Special call out to Torytown 69. We appreciate you, and you can stick around. What a name. Thank you, of course. You help us make sure that we can keep producing the podcasts via the app that we have chosen. And also, we've gotten to the point that we now no longer have to spend funds out of our own pockets to make sure that we have our monthly subscription. So thank you so much for being our patrons and helping us do this. Special thanks, of course, as always, to 25 Creative as well. Check them out. They're our graphic design specialists. They put our logo together, our general slide pack as well, and we very much appreciate them and everything that they do. So today, as indicated in the title slide, we're going to talk about Spring Fling and what 2 of our behemoths got to do at said Spring Fling. And then we've got a little bit of a juicy topic of discussion to happen afterwards about the upcoming Arcane Journal and the Armies of Infamy. But we'll leave that because Tom has requested a special reading for some of the text out of those Arcane Journals, which we'll get to. Patience.
Voice acting and all. Like an audiobook, please.
The whole shebang. My
call on all your DMing experience.
My falsetto has never been more finely on display. But let's talk first about the Spring Fling. Chris, obviously, you were a little ill and you had to duck out, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I did paint all of those Noblars.
Which is quite, again, the behemoth achievement. I unfortunately had my selfish brother bring his children over internationally, and I had to spend time with them. But Alex and Tom, you guys got the chance to go, and from all reports, it was a pretty spectacular day.
Yep, it definitely was. Good showing from the community once again. A great event. This time, I think, and I happy to be corrected. They've now reached the absolute pinnacle of terrain and boards because they've done away with the very last age-old plastic GW, the old terrain. So we had those 6 plastic things where you would hit a dice and someone in Canberra would hear you rolling them. That's how loud it was.
Yes.
So credit to them. God, some of the boards were on fire.
They were.
In terms of terrain, nothing was like scrambled together in the end. So very good. Notable change as well. The tables this time at the event were not in the like top table fashion, where it's like, table 1 is top, table 20 is bottom, complete jumble as a whole, which I think actually worked quite well.
Water features were a thing this time around.
That's what we should have put a photo on, Tom. You got plenty of photos, right?
I did take a few photos of the terrain pieces. Yeah. Sorry.
I got one. I took one photo the whole event too, and that's
it, ladies and gentlemen. We're done. So, Tom, on your boards, we'll talk about your games in a second, but just on the water features thing, what on your 3 games, what water features were there?
So there was a water feature in front of the Mission 1 special feature, which was like a pond. Game 2, can't remember. Game 3,
this is good content.
Can't remember.
Yeah,
but it was good. It was good. I just don't feel like it sort of came into play, but the terrain always does come into play at WSWG events, which is fantastic, right? Like the fact that it all sort of lumped into one. And I do remember in game 1 being like, oh, what does that thing do?
Was the one Lizardman player just having the biggest smile on his face the entire time?
Did you play Pete first game, Tom?
Negative.
No, Chris
was supposed to. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Chris was meant to. Pete, unfortunately, then had to go into John, the TO, who brought a Dark Elf list and proceeded to
bully him. Bullying, John. We're talking to you. You bully.
Teach a lesson.
All right. Take your Dark Elf dragon, which only belongs in 1,500-point tournaments. Take your Dark Elf dragon and put it away. Put it away.
So, coming back to your question, Alice, about the water features.
Yeah, tell me about the water features in your game, please, Alex.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
We totally
I don't even remember
up.
Going to the event.
Thank you, Tom. We've heard from you. We can move on to Alex now.
I'll just...
You know how we did all those practice games, and we were like, the water features there. We're at the pinnacle of IQ here. The water feature is going to be the special feature. Like, it's absolutely got to be in the center of the board. Did any of us actually read the book? No. Where it says it's an immobile piece of terrain that blocks movement and line of sight. So the water feature was not in the center of the board as we had been training for. It was off to the side. But it was there. Game 2 was smack bang in the middle of my table setup, which I assume would have been the same.
You know what? It was.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And game 3 was basically the same. Smack bang in the middle.
Yeah.
Because I remember we had to go over it for fighting over objectives.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So Tom, why did you take ogres?
Why did I take ogres? Well, that's all I have. Actually, I don't have much. Ogres are the one thing that I do have. I feel like a violin should start playing, but it's a romance novel. It's a never-ending love, and it's just something that's not going to change, really.
We'll play some Celine Dion under the under the bottom, as much as we can get away without being copyright infringed.
Half a second.
All right, let's talk about your games. I am going to keep you to task at time because, of course, we know you would love to talk about your experiences for the next 2 hours. But Alex, so you came very close to being right up in the top 4 because of your punishing and immoral list. So tell us a little bit about how your games went.
So much like Icarus in his journey,
flew too close
to the sun. But game 1, I had Paddy and her Wood Elves, and
Australia's #1 player.
show's number one player, we had a very interesting pre-game chat. I think Paddy spent a couple of days before the event just absolutely going through as many scenarios as possible,
Except for this one.
to absolutely try and figure out the best way as a Wood Elf army, which is pro at avoidance, to play aggressive against the avoidance dwarf army, as John said on the Fanatics. Basically, she set up so there was. I'm just going to send it. I'm going to go send as much as I can forward. I didn't end up scouting Tom, as we talked about in our video. I didn't want to scout right up to the objective. Yeah, because there's a dragon. Paddy was 100% going to get the +1 to go first. Unfortunately, I won the roll off, and I went first, and I proceeded to fire as much as I could, artillery, crossbows at the dragon, and I think I got it down to 3 wounds on the first turn, and did a couple of other, wiped out a couple of other units. It was a hard matchup for her. It was a very hard matchup, and basically turn 2, kill the dragon, proceeded to kill a couple of other units, and then by the end of the game, Orion actually had done quite a bit of damage, where Orion was charging, unbreakable, charging again, unbreakable, charging again, whittling down. I think Orion actually killed most things and was left on a few wounds after that. So that ended up as an 18-4. Game 2, I drew John. After he had beaten Pete into a pulp, we drew each other on the baggage train list, and we proceeded to play a bit of a cat and mouse game of where his dragon's going, how I'm going to protect my what's it called, baggage train, and then how am I going to send as many gyrocopters as possible into his baggage train. And we had this hilarious game because he was the judge as well as the player. So sometimes I had to run and, he'd be like, oh, someone would come up and say, oh, we've got a rules query. And I was like, oh, what's the rules query? And run after him on the to find out what it was, and then go, oh yeah, that's interesting, back to the game. So I ended up claiming his baggage train and protecting mine as well. Again, it was toughness 3 elves into clatter guns, steam guns, high movement, and the cannons did a bit of work. The bolt throwers did nothing in this game. In fact, in the next game, it's very similar.
Your train of thought.
We're back.
You bullied 2 elf lists. It's amazing what strength 4 AP -1 guns could do against toughness 3 5+ armor saves. But go on. How did you go when you actually faced an army that wasn't toughness 3?
So before we get into that, I just want to talk about entrenchment first before we go into it. Now, game 1, entrenchment was very beneficial because it stopped the multi-attacks from wild riders and a couple of other things. Game 2 didn't do anything because a lot of things weren't in combat. In game 3, Chris Shah was who I pulled, and Chris eventually went on to win the event. Chaos list, 2 dragons, 2 chaos spawns. Was probably a masterclass in how to actually beat entrenchment. And we played the triple objectives. I scouted rangers up. You can see the photo there, which is basically my turn 1, just before, after I had vanguarded, getting ready to go. Ranger scouted up into the middle, a couple of gyros split across. He split his dragons and giant spawn. So there was 1 dragon on each flank, 1 giant spawn on each flank. And basically, my game plan in this one was I knew I wasn't going to be able to kill all the behemoths. All I needed to do was just try and hold more objectives, because realistically, he's only scoring unit with a Forsaken. He had some Marauder Cav, but I knew that I could dink 1 wound off the Marauder Cav unit, and it's not scoring anymore.
Just a quick question. In that photo, is that the water feature in front of your
That's the water
ranges?
feature.
And that's impassable?
It's not impossible. It's just difficult.
Okay.
It's just difficult. For me, not much effect because I've got moved through cover. And funnily enough, for him, he's movement 5 anyway with Forsaken, and a lot of other things were fine. Flies, random movers, and so forth. The game, and Chris is absolutely lovely to play against. He comes to the 2+ events. We'd finally drawn each other on the top table. We basically, he proceeded to say, look, I think how to beat entrenchment is not to charge it with dragons straight out of the gate. And I totally agree after now having experience with it, is if you're playing dragons or double dragons and you're used to just going straight in, you just can't do that anymore, because Chris dismantled my army, especially all my infantry and all my war machines, basically by saying, I'm able to tank your cannon shots with triple saves. I'm able to engage your infantry just to try and get them tied down. But all I need to do is get a giant spawn into one of your units where I've got no sound to shoot, and then hit it with a dragon on beside. So it doesn't matter in which configuration you have that, as long as one of them is in the rear, because again, entrenchment at the Western Sydney Wargames is only on the front, and it's basically over for that unit, right? Because that starts to generate combat resolution. And I think, Tom, this was the game. I mentioned I didn't take great weapons. This was the game I had deep regrets about not having great weapons, because Forsaken, with a heavy armor 5+ ward in combat against my ranger block, even though I think I had something like 18 attacks hitting him back, because incredibly all the Forsaken hit me. They had 1 attack because I was entrenched. But then when I hit back, yes, okay, I was hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s.
Bit of a pillow fight.
Yeah.
Because you're strength 3 with Rangers, right?
Yeah. And I did 1 wound or something, because it's like, 6 wounds, save 2 off armor, save 2 off ward. I did 2 wounds, and then, okay, I'll lose by 1, and I can stubborn.
Did your other unit have great weapons?
No, neither had great weapons. And it's because it becomes a very expensive unit once you start to put it up there.
I mean, you
Sounds
could
like
drop
it might be
one
worth it though, right?
gyrocopter.
Or the whole bunch of gyrocopters, maybe.
Yeah, or you drop throwing axes, right? It's hard, because throwing axes were actually very useful to being able to, in some cases, what I would do is actually drop my entrenchment and move up. Just throw throwing axes at you and then entrench again in your turn, which worked quite well. But yeah, this turned into a 15-8 to Chris. I did score 2 points and was hoping to score more, but he was able to contest me. So this was also another great reminder about, if I'd had more scoring units, I probably could have done. If I had a 3rd block, maybe less gyrocopters next time, I would have dominated the scoring. Absolutely. But it's an interesting discussion, because Chris, and Chris, you can correct me, I don't think he played the objectives at all. He just went, I'm just bringing double dragon, double behemoth.
Well, I'm
going to kill.
That's the archetype, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of. I mean, you talk about. And we're going to talk about competitive Warhammer, ladies and gentlemen. But you talk about archetypes in terms of lists that you see, and certainly Chaos triple save dragons are one that you would see. But this is like 1,200, 1,300 points in 4 models, right?
Yeah, effectively. And the Exalted Champion Dragon, and as a Chaos player, was very good. Even though it's toughness 5, it's still a flying behemoth with a Chaos Dragon.
Yeah.
Chaos Dragon.
It's still got all the attacks, all the stomps, everything that a Chaos Dragon normally has.
Yep.
And soaking fire into that just means, you're not soaking it into the other big boy. So
I'm sure we'll get into it, but also the other kind of archetype that's similar to that is, and I think you see it a lot with the vampire counts players, is one where they'll pin you back away from the objectives. And they're also not going to die, but they don't really care about scoring that much. But they're just trying to hold you away from the objectives.
Yep. Yep. So congrats to Chris. He went on to win the event. Lovely game. I had three great games on the day. So 10 out of 10. Tom.
Yeah, I was really happy with how the Renegade Ogres went as well. So I managed to get 2 wins, 1 loss, and came 10th overall, which is just 1 behind my fellow Behemoth, Alex, which is really cool. 3 great games also. We had a game 1 win against a really, really cool guy called Jacob. He was bringing in all Night Goblins, Orcs and Goblin tribes army, which was awesome.
Great theme. It was so
really
good
cool
to see.
theme.
Was that the photo on the bottom?
That's the photo on the bottom. Yeah, exactly.
Really good.
So really cool, beautifully painted as well.
Yeah, well done him for painting. What was that, like 100 and something models?
Oh man, so many, just crazy. And like the amount of sort of the tricks and shenanigans that it could get up to, and all the firepower with all of the ordnance and the artillery. If you want to see his full rundown, in terms of at least his roster, you can check out our episode 11 episode, which is really fun. But basically, he had 2 giant blocks of Night Goblins. He had a spectral doppelganger illusion, sort of killing blow machine, heaps of ordnance and stuff like that. But like just sort of by virtue of the matchup, Runemoor did a lot of work in that one, and my block sort of broke his block, and I managed to punch through it. So I did manage to score the domination and the special features, and it was sort of at this point that the Noblar unit strength theory really came to fruition. Like they just did such a good job of spreading out. We had the Noblars, 3 units of them, 1 protecting the front and providing some cover from shooting. The other 2 sort of splitting off for domination purposes. The lead belchers are doing the same thing. It was a very objective heavy roster that I brought, which was really fun. So yeah, managed to score both the special feature with the unit strength 36 Iron Guts, and then the domination with all of the fluff as well. Close game though, could have gone either way. There was one moment where he flank charged me with a unit of squig hoppers, and I killed them to a man, and I failed my overrun test, and my giant ogre gut block just like took off after these squig hoppers, and just then I also proceeded to fail all of the Runemoor dispel attempts, and I also failed all of the dispel attempts. So I think my iron gut block got reduced to T1. No armor save, and the bombardments just like came in, just absolutely smashed me.
And you failed it with veteran.
I failed it with veteran. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was brutal. Yeah, with the reroll. Leadership 9 as well. So sometimes these things happen in Warhammer. But yeah, I just managed to sort of to clutch it. And it went the other way as well. I on the first turn that I broke his big block, I had a flank charge with my Stonehorn and a front charge with my Iron Guts. And I missed the pursuit, catching them by 1 inch and all that kind of stuff, actually because of the water feature, which is really cool to see. So yeah, there were some really cool interactions, and I would love to play Jacob again, and 10 out of 10 game there. All of my games are 10 out of 10. I played against Alex Brown, who I think came 3rd or 4th overall in my second game.
He came
third. So he had vampire counts, and I would say that vampire counts are probably, especially a Scream archetype, probably the worst matchup for ogres, just because we're inherently such low leadership. I can't dispel the Screams, and a lot of the time he's getting me to test against my leadership at -2, So he'd do things like one-shot my Iron Blaster, and it just became a very, very sort of cagey game. So we actually drew on points scored, but the baggage train, he managed to get through and destroy my baggage train, and I just couldn't get through his. We were measuring out a lot of the Screams and really screening each other out in terms of, the way that the baggage train was formed. So yeah, I think probably a lot of people had the similar experience. It was just a very I deployed my baggage train, and then he deployed his on the other side, and then we sort of just danced around for ages. And I think baggage train after that experience really lends itself to either being paired with another objective, or maybe we could toy with having the baggage train in a fixed location, which I think could also be kind of cool. Maybe in a position where it emulates, 2 armies sort of crossing paths.
Because there's no demand on where it's placed right now, right?
Just
you
has
put
to
it
be
anywhere
3
in your
inches.
deployment zone.
Exactly, 3 inches away from the edge.
Right.
So and also if you win the roll off for deployment, you deploy your baggage train first, and then they deploy their baggage train. So it doesn't have to be like, ooh, secretly, like we're both putting it down at the same time. So you can really, as second player, engineer where it's placed and either force the engagement or just sort of separate it. And maybe taking the agency away from players to do that is a neat patch if you don't want to run a second objective. But I really think, pairing it with Strategic Locations 3 or something similar, maybe even Domination, I don't know, whatever it is, I think maybe just a slight tweak would be fun. But I think just a second objective would be the best way to do it.
We can talk about that, I suppose, in the recap sort of towards the end. But so that was game 2, right? That was game 2.
Great game. Alex is a really fun player to play against, even with a Scream vampire counts list. He actually said, he was like, and this isn't incriminating, but he was like, if I'm going to come to an event and play for 9 hours. And he looked at me and he death stared me and he actually saw through me almost like a vampire count. And he said, I don't want to lose. And I was like, that's cool. That's cool, man. No worries. So that was good fun.
And you can watch his latest video recapping vampire counts. I don't think he wants to play them again, Tom. I think he said whilst he did well, it was probably the least enjoyable 3-round tournament in terms of just plonk units down, push them forward, regenerate, scream, regenerate.
He was sort of lamenting more than I was. I mean, I wasn't lamenting at all.
This is notable from a man who has tried some of the most morally questionable forms of lists over the last little while. And look, I commend Alex for his commitment of really leaning into some of the discomfort around lists and understanding what he morally is capable of feeling okay with. But I think the fact that he's gone handmaidens, high elves with what are they called? The handmaidens of Ishar, the sisters of Ishar,
the sisters of Avalon.
The sisters of Avalon. Thank you. High elves, sisters of Avalon spam with his chariots, with its illusion archmage, who is probably the deadliest wizard in the whole of Warhammer, the old world.
Oh, the sword.
Yes, the white sword.
Where will he go next?
The white sword magic. I mean, look, he went into Beastman with the hag tree fetish, and re-rolling all those wounds on whatever the spell is for that. Now
demons.
He's tried vampire counts.
He's coming to join me. He's coming to join me with demons.
Devil's advocate, though, I do think that that kind of data gaining is necessary because otherwise, like you just sort of these anomalous things in the background. Oh, it's really scary until someone puts them on the table en masse. Similar. Like we had 4 vampire counts players.
Yeah,
I think two of the top 4.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
I think it's really good.
For anyone saying legacy's not a factor, I mean, the top 5, there were 3 or 4 legacy factions. I think there was Warriors of Chaos, 2 vampire counts, a dark elf. Who was number 5?
Warriors of Chaos isn't legacy.
Another Warriors of Chaos. So 3 out of the top 5 were legacy factions. I don't think it can be discounted. I mean, let's keep our opinions around vampire counts to ourselves. But as far as things go, I don't think you can discount the fact that if you play a version of Warhammer, the old world, and you play it inclusive of legacy, that legacy can be competitive because it clearly very much can.
Well, they did a really good video, the 2+ boys, and Alex and I were talking about this Alex Brown and I were talking about this after our game, and he was just saying, the takeaway from the WSWG breakdown video that they did was that legacy is dead. And Games Workshop has sort of achieved what they want because, you didn't really see Lizardmen doing very well. You saw no Skaven. Ogres, there's a build there that Chris and I have explored and we're happy with it. Vampire counts, really the only one that are absolutely creaming.
And they're riding on the coattails of Tomb Kings, to be honest.
Exactly.
Because it's the Tomb Kings rules specifically that allow vampire counts to perform in the way that they and the fact that they have easy access to ethereal, which is
that's right. Yeah.
A rule that you see nowhere else in the game. But anyway.
It was a really fun game, regardless of the fact that it was vampires. And, that really goes to show what I was talking about when we were saying episode 5, bring the most brutal thing in the world. I really don't care. Just be a good bloke about it, because you make me have fun, even when I'm getting my head literally just pushed into the toilet and flushed. If we can have a laugh about it and giggle, it's so fine.
You say that, but you drew. Like, you did well.
Yeah, well, that was just the nature of the game. Like, it was you had to play that way, and it was sort of, I had one chance to try and prevent him from whacking the baggage train, and unfortunately I couldn't quite get it, and that was sort of it. But it was still, it was fun. Like, I still really
he
enjoyed
had
it.
like a podcaster's day. He had Gomo first, then he had you, and then I don't remember who he played in the third round.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But anyway, we're here to talk about Tom's games. So Tom, tell us about game 3.
Yeah, so game 3 was just an example of maybe me playing the objective and designing my roster around the objective. My opponent was playing Wood Elves, and he had, I think he had 20, like 2 units of 10 Glade Guard with the bows, and then he had 1 unit of 6 Glade Riders, or whatever they're called, and 1 unit of 5. So basically what I did is I plinked off, I basically made sure that none of the units could score. He would have won on points 12-8, I believe. But
so
he only
5
killed
battle points worth of
5
strategic
of the
location
6.
points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So I ended up flipping the 12-8 to a 13-12. And I was second player. I designed the roster to sort of do that and take advantage of what I think was a misstep in the WSWG mission pack, which I can talk about in a second. But he did only kill about 800 points, because I did also, my roster is so much of a gut star.
All the Iron Guts.
Exactly. All the Iron Guts, all 3 characters in one hit. It sacrifices multiple threats on the table to make sure that I can hit the objectives. So, it was still a kind of close game. Like, I deliberately baited on the left flank, made sure that I was just pursuing his scoring units, and that was sort of all I did. I just needed to make sure that my gut star stayed alive. He had a dragon that couldn't really touch my gut star, just because I had the Tenderizer Tyrant in there. So he was sort of skirting around that and going after my little guys. That's fine. It's sort of the way that the roster was designed to play.
You can't even with dragons, you can't even really breath weapon a gut star as well, because of course the way
the triple
that
save,
partials hit, you'll never overlap. You'll never fully overlap an ogre base.
Yeah.
So every time you would sit there and try and chip away. I mean, the Wood Elf breath weapon is similar to the Dark Elf breath weapon in that it's no armor save, strength 2, and actually pretty good against stuff that can defend itself that way. But yeah, no, there's just no recourse there for a limited ward save or a no ward save dragon to go in against that and be challenged out by the Tenderizer Tyrant. It's just
correct.
And the lead belchers, Tom, what's the rating?
Yeah, so the list worked. I really, really liked the Stonehorn in rare. That was really fun. I think Leadership 7 is too much of a drawback, though. So going forward, I'm actually going to trial putting the BSB Bruiser on a Stonehorn, just to have 2 separate threats, and just in case I run into further vampire count lists or ethereal spam lists, I want a second source of magical weapons.
Yes.
So that's the play. It means I can also move my caster into the front rank, because I wasn't running wide with the block. I was running quite narrow, which worked, but I think it could work better. I had a big chat to Patty after the event, and she was saying that I should experiment with marching column Noblars. So that's something that I'm going to do as well. I'm also going to take some Saber Tusks with ambush to try and go after baggage trains a little bit more effectively. I will be dropping down to 1 unit of lead belchers. I think they're better, far better than they were in non-renegades. I don't know if they're yet there, and I'm not entirely sure if I rate them more than I rate a second Iron Blaster, but they do prove invaluable in plinking, because ogres can't really do that. This is another reason why I'm going to put the Slaughtermaster in the front rank. I want to be able to shoot fireballs again, just to clear scoring units. So I think dropping them down to 1 playing more objectives, swapping some things around, and just bringing one unit of lead belchers at size 4 instead of size 3, just so they have a little bit more oomph. I think will be worth it. But no, I'm not entirely sure.
Were you
yet.
using them to kind of plink away screens as well?
You know what? There weren't that many screens that I played against, really. I couldn't really touch the vampires. There was, not really much going on. They were really trying to hassle the black coach, which had ethereal. It was switching between ethereal and not. So the turns that it wasn't ethereal, I was trying to bang it. But yeah, look, it just didn't really go that way.
I mean,
do you
that's a
think
good point, Tom? Because I don't remember any screening units.
No.
Well, I think the days of MSU are gone, particularly at WSWG. I don't think, with the emphasis now on match play around scoring units, I don't think you'll see a huge amount of MSU. It's not a feasible way of winning games. So,
couple MSU units at Moab though that'll be interesting for ogres, but we'll see.
Just in terms of the lead belchers, on reflection, do you feel that it maybe was a matchup issue as opposed to a performance issue from them? Do you see them being more valuable in thinking about some of the other lists that you saw in the day?
Yeah, look, I do, but I also think the predominant issue would be a skill issue from my part. So I think, really getting the most mileage out of that unit is not on them, it's on me. And I've made some tweaks into how I approach things. I didn't have that many practice games, unfortunately. I played against Ed McBurney, friend of the podcast. And
is that a patron?
It is not a patron, but he did give me a light box for free, so that's fantastic.
I don't think we can call him a friend of the podcast.
maybe a friend of mine. So we were basically like working on approaches for my lead belchers, and I was definitely being a bit too gung ho with them, thinking, oh, they've got an ogre profile, but they don't really have an ogre profile because they can't stand and shoot. And sure, they've got 3 attacks each, but they don't have armor bane, unlike the bulls, etc. So yeah, there's a few differences. And they're still only leadership 7. So I think the whole event I was dancing around range 18 or range 24, depending on the type of shot that I wanted to take. And that's why I don't want to drop them completely, because I want to use one unit and just trying to get maximum, efficacy out of it. Like I just want to see how good they can be. I don't think I'm going to try Curse of Arrow Attraction anymore. I think get Ixnay that and just have them be what they are. There are a few options, maybe running Ogre Pistols on a couple of the characters, just because that can further the plink-off strategy, which I really think is incredibly valuable. Like, I don't have to worry about that. You have to get through 10 Noblars per unit to even make a dent, and then you need to, kill 8 Ogres before they stop being scoring. So, I'm not really that worried about how you approach my stuff, but I really need to make sure that I can neuter your stuff, and that tactic works. It's just, what's the most efficient way for me to do it? And I think we'll see. It's yet to be, because the Iron Blaster had some cheeky sniper shots too. Like he in game 3, he plinked off 1 or 2 horses to make them under unit strength 10, and that was, he didn't even touch the dragon. He didn't even bother. So that was really how I played it, and it was really fun. A really fun event.
So I think off the back of the event, we have something of an announcement to make to the national community, if not the global,
to the masses
community.
Probably the global.
If we could go over to the next slide, please, Alex. But we're blessed today to be joined by the #1 faction leader for Ogre Kingdoms and Renegades, Mr. Tom Harper. Tom,
it's been a long road. It's been a long road, guys. It's I've put a lot of work into this. I want to thank my friends and my family, but most of all, I want to thank the duration of season 2 and the involvement of no other ogre players in any rated event.
I love that you cropped me out of this photo, by the way, because I'm right next to Tom.
Well, because you dropped out. And
I still scored points.
You scored like 2 points.
You scored 3 points.
I have a follow-up question for you, Chris. How does this make you feel?
It makes me feel better because I wasn't as sick as I am on the weekend. No, it's fine. Tom can enjoy his moment in the sun.
Just really to highlight though, guys, I couldn't have done this without no other ogre player turning up to any tournament this season thus far.
So done.
Thank you, community.
Well done.
Thank you, patrons.
Well done.
They've abandoned all hope.
Well done, Torytown 69 for keeping Tom's
Thank you,
spirits
Torytown
up.
69.
And thank you to all of the absent ogre players who have decided to do better things with their time than play ogre games this season. Okay,
ogres are good though, man. I really do. Anyway, whatever.
So
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
You've taken some vibes away, I suppose, from the feeling. And I know we personally spoke a little bit around what the players pack was intending to do, and maybe some of the thought process around the changes that were ultimately made to the match play guide and the limitations on objectives and all of those things. But you guys played the missions, right? You got to experience it in a pressurized environment where there were things at stake and you had to think about it. Yes, you practiced, but you had to go and do it. So the WSWG events, from what you've said, high quality, always high quality. We know the boards are fabulous. We know the terrain is great. They put a lot of effort in. The events remain, even with the changing profile of lists, as the 2+ guys have pointed out, in terms of, what gets brought along. They put a lot of effort into trying to make sure it remains sort of one of the most attractive and interesting events in the Sydney calendar. What would you want to see from them moving forward? I mean, match play is out. Match play is a part of events. You look at Moab. Moab is literally just using match play and nothing else. No adjustments, no anything else. So what do you want to see? And I suppose, Tom, I'll start with you. What do you want to see moving forward from WSWG now that we have this amazing platform to berate them and provide our opinion?
Well, look, I just thought I'd put this slide in to have a bit of a discussion regarding, I guess, the direction of Warhammer events in New South Wales as a whole. And I think we've really started to see some drastic deviations made to the match play guide. And the match play guide has only been out for just under 3 months at the time of recording this video. So I think in 3 days it turns 3 months old, right? And, we've had this discussion at episode 9, and we can put that link down. And when the Spring Fling Players Pack came out, which was the event that we just attended, at that point the match play guide had been out for less than 8 weeks, right? And they ended up replacing not just the victory point scoring with battle point scoring, which is quite a big shift. For example, the baggage train in the match play guide is only worth 300 victory points for controlling yours and destroying your opponents, whereas at Spring Fling it was worth 4 battle points for doing that, which is roughly equivalent to 1,000 battle victory points, which is huge, right? But they also changed when scoring was done for strategic locations. So, for example, end of game round for strategic locations, not player turn as it is in the match play guide. And they also said that, as opposed to 30 victory points per strategic location cap, which is probably too little. I'm not going to deny that. That's probably too little. They offered 1 battle point at the end of the game round, which heavily sort of advantaged me as second player in my 3rd round, for example. It didn't feel good for my opponent, and it didn't feel very good for me because I scored at 5 out of 6 turns. So that's equivalent of points on the table, I guess, largely to second player. That's the equivalent of 1,500 victory points for those objectives, right? So no, look, I just want to clarify real quick. I have no issues with house rules. I largely encourage them. I encourage them in episode 5. They can be a really fabulous tool to standardize expectations, streamline interactions, reduce feel bads. I'm looking at you, Ring of Jet spam, right? And you also, that I play ogres, which is a legacy army, and I'd absolutely prefer to be given the option of playing in a Renegades event. And the Renegades is literally a house rule pack, right? But the difference is Renegades is available en masse, right? It's available to the public at large, and the public can either choose to do it or not. So my takeaway from this is when I play Warhammer the Old World, I really want to play Warhammer the Old World. And that's irrespective of whether I go to a WSWG event, to Moab, to Good Games Town Hall, to a 2+, or to an Old World Behemoths podcast event, just to name a few. And I think fiddling with format changes like, Grand Melee, Combined Arms, or both, or not having any restrictions, or making extremely common items no longer extremely common, they're all levers that I think should be pulled, and I encourage them to be pulled. But I really would strongly advocate for leaving the match play guide untouched, or as untouched as possible, at least for now, especially when we consider things like who can score, or the weight of scoring, or the mechanics of objectives. Like I think that they're the consistent things that should be left largely unmodified unless we want to make some slight tweaks, right? So, let's go out and comp things. Let's allow people to explore different list constructions. I want to make a tyrant a butcher, or I have to make a tyrant a butcher, or I have to make a slaughtermaster. Sorry, the other way around. I have to make a tyrant a bruiser, or I have to make a slaughtermaster a butcher. They're the kind of comp restrictions that I would love to see put in place. But the consistency, I think, should be stuff that brings all of these events together, such as the match play guide. Like the objectives of scoring need to really be the objectives of scoring as Warhammer as a whole. And so that's sort of my wish list for events going forward, because, we've really got a unique opportunity. We're at a crossroads, I feel. We either have the New South Wales community split and everyone's playing pocket games and different versions of Warhammer, which we already see sort of worldwide and even state to state. So let's pull together, right, and apply some of our changes after we've had a few more months, right, with a steadied hand. So
I'm definitely inclined to agree.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this, right? We talked about and I mean, again, credit to the WSWG guys. It was actually closer to like less than a month that the match play guide had been out, that they ultimately released their players pack. So they had a bit of an inkling of what they wanted to do. They incorporated some of the pack, but ultimately I understand the caution around what they did with the scoring at the end of the turn instead of the player. At the battle round instead of the player turn. That said, I mean, we ran our doubles event, which I put the players pack together for. Nostra Alasdair, who predicted the future of progressive scoring, but when we did that, we obviously put that players pack together before the match play guide came out. It ultimately ended up reflecting the match play guide quite nicely in terms of our progressive scoring mission.
Is Alasdair a playtester?
Don't call me that. I'll blush. But as far as that event went, and that particular round went, it was actually very straightforward. Give players a little credit. They are capable of tracking progressive scoring. I very much like the idea of us working together off the match play guide now moving forward from a collective New South Wales events standpoint of standardizing and saying, yeah, okay, you might come to a WSWG event and you have limitations on character percentage, or you have, magic items, or, we might introduce some weird terrain feature or play things in a certain way. That's fine. That's the event itself, but we're still playing the missions, right? We still know what to expect. And all of those missions have so much versatility in terms of what they offer you to include. So you don't have to always do strategic objectives 3. You can do strategic objectives 5. You can mix and match and put things all over the place. There's no requirement for you to do the same thing every time. So I feel like there's the freedom and flexibility to work to the limitations of your event without manipulating the match play guide too much. And I agree with you. It's been 3 months since the match play guide has come out. Let's give it a few more months before we ultimately draw judgment on whether or not this is the pathway forward for organized event play in New South Wales.
And I just want to really quickly say, sorry, Chris, like this isn't, like I'm not an advocate for Games Workshop's way or the highway. Right. I acknowledge the fact that we play a Games Workshop system and it's not going to be
Didn't you
perfect,
just buy
right?
120 Noblar models that had
And I
to be
also want to
Games
say,
Workshop?
I'm just going to completely get rid of that. I also want to say this isn't me, the harp daddy over here, saying that I know what's best, right? I just think that we need a little bit more data, and you know, let's have some elements of consistency within the community. And maybe it's selfish. I don't really want to learn to play a different version of Warhammer at different events. Like when I go to WSWG or I go to 2+, or I go to one of our own events, or I go to Exiles, I want that to be the same. And the match play guide is the essence of that, right? The way that we play objectives is a huge meta shift, man. We can't even comprehend the amount of change that the that the match play guide has actually had in terms of impact on the game.
There's not been that many events. We've it's been so early that we're yet to see what the impact of that is.
That's right.
Frankly, I mean, you look through the Moab lists, and not to disparage any of the players going to Moab, we've all seen the lists at this point. We know there are some people who've brought a pool noodle to a gunfight, and there's lots of people who have brought what are probably the easiest to play successful lists that exist within Warhammer, the old world right now. And I'm not taking away from any particular player's skill, but there's certainly a lot to be said around bringing something that is point and click and win. But Moab, even with that, you can see the drastic change that the match play guide has
100%.
had on list construction on numerous lists just from what you see out of Moab. And you see something similar from, the lists that we saw in the Spring Fling event, but not to the same extent. And again, it's going to continue to develop. The more events use the match play guide, the more it will change, the more it will develop. We don't even have a meta yet, other than vampire counts regenerating,
and ogres,
right?
Obviously.
And ogres. We don't have a meta yet, right? There's lots of people talking lots of garbage about Cathay balloons and all of that stuff, right? But it's been a few months. We don't have a meta. We haven't had enough events to establish a meta. And we can look at
least not
the
locally,
UK. No, we can look at the
locally.
UK, or we can look at the US, and we can say, conclusion number 1, conclusion number 2. But I think if we can take away anything from the last season of Australian Warhammer, we don't play the same game as the UK does. We don't play the same game as the US does. We play different styles of Warhammer. And so we can't establish after 3 months and a handful of events whether or not the right way forward is to use it or otherwise. So use the damn thing. See what happens. Let's see over the course of the next 6-9 months what the development is. I agree with you. If there's a wish list to be taken away, and I'm entirely stealing your message. If there's a wish list to be taken away from me, player who didn't play at the event and wants to play it once in future, use the match play guide. Alex, Chris has been wanting to talk for a while. I apologize.
And I will rope Alex in. I think one thing I'd like to point out when it comes to like objective play and match play guide is one takeaway I've had from other game systems is, and this is particularly game systems like Infinity and AOS, is thank you, Tom. This whole thing of like, this unit needs to go over here to score this objective, and players just going, if you're dead, you're not going to score. And so there's this whole, back and forth of like, I really need to make sure that I score these objectives, and other players just going, I'm just going to kick your head in, and then you're going to score 0, hopefully, and I'm going to score a handful of points, and then I'm just going to win at the end. So what I'd like to rope in with Alex is, I know Tom's, I think it was his final game, was where it was very kind of back and forth. You were kind of getting beaten up, and then you managed to swing it on objectives. And I'm contrasting that to Alex's final game against Chris, who's obviously a very good player, who just basically went, I'm just going to kick your head in and not necessarily care about the missions. And I'm interested to see where that balance kind of ends up. And I'm interested to hear Alex's thoughts on how that's going to play out, because he kind of played into the ultimate potentially. Yep. I don't care about the mission. I'm just going to smash you.
Well, it's funny, right? Because in that last game, I was ultra focused on the objectives because it was my only path to win effectively. And I said, did I say it? I think I said it. I wish I had more scoring units against the dragons. I would holistically say that in some people's games, the swing of getting the objectives was massive to the point where close games turned into very large wins and good wins turned into extra large wins by simply following that way, Chris. I mean, Chris, yes, he pretty much almost tabled me, except for he scored a couple of extra points as well. So he clipped on off the back of it. The mission 1 I thought was well done because of 2 objectives to go for. It meant that if you didn't want to go for the central objective, you could be like, well, I'm going to tie this out by playing the domination game. I agree with the baggage train. It solely focuses on, I'm just going to like castle in this corner and with gyrocopters send the entire fleet out to try and get you and castle with dwarves. It meant that I got a 4-point swing on that one, and then in game 3. So I would say that there's probably too many is it VPs? Too many VPs attached to the battle points at the moment. So they need to be looked at, because otherwise you end up in those scenarios where I believe in some cases, even in Patty's last game, she actually won, but then lost.
That's
off
right.
the back of the
exactly the
objectives.
same as mine.
And I would say for me, holding an objective but not getting anything it sucks, right? It's like if you've dedicated a unit and you just don't have it. So
well, you just dedicated a turn.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get where the guys are coming from, right? Because to Chris's point, you want to be able to offer another route to people. And do you know what I'm most interested in? I'm most interested in that strategic locations 4. I think strategic locations 2 is a waste of time, unless it's paired with like baggage train or something.
Well, that's difficult as well because they're both
whatever it is.
Yeah,
or maybe domination.
Yeah,
you know. But two I think is a waste of time. The 3 should be the absolute minimum in my mind. 4 should be there. Chris, how many do they have in AOS? Is it 5?
Sorry, you're talking missions or objectives?
No, like objectives. You know, they have those the 12-inch circles I see.
So it varies per mission. They can have up to, it's either 8 or 9 in this edition. It might be 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's be 100% clear. We don't want to end up like 40k, which is like the same ruins and the same terrain.
No.
So I would like to see that happen as well. Let's have a look at bring those together for the next one. I mean, I was about to say bring back the scoring with banners and MSU so my demons could come back. But
no, because can I just really interject there? The way that scoring now works and accentuating core, that's what it is, right? Like, don't change that. If you're going to change anything, change other stuff. But don't change the fact that only core units can score. Before we had the mission pack, the WSWG guys coming in and saying that everything with a banner that could score was fantastic. But we don't have that system anymore, right? It's core units. It's unit strength with core units. And there's exceptions to that when you're going to destroy other things, such as baggage train. That's fantastic, right? But let's just be calm and just, like, it's breathed a huge breath. It's provided a huge breath of fresh air, I think, in terms of the way that people are forming their armies and the things that are important now. And I think, for a lot of factions, it's probably given that alternate route to victory that we didn't have before, right? We're not just playing a kill points game anymore. We're playing a really, really cool tactical version of Warhammer. Not all the time, there's lists out there that just click and shoot dwarves, but it's
we didn't win. The
You know what I
prophecy
mean,
did
though,
not
right?
come true.
Yeah,
It didn't
only
come
because
true.
you
nearly came
you
true,
played
but it didn't
poorly,
come true.
Alex.
Whilst I
But,
didn't,
yeah.
Tom, whilst I didn't win the event, I feel extremely vindicated against the haters and all the hate comments that I got.
Did you
for
get that
bringing
much
my
hate?
list.
You won. You won
I
the
think that
people's
the mission
hearts.
practice
Daggers
really
in the heart,
needs
Tom.
to
You-
be explored, and I think that we need to explore it.
You
Comp is really cool, man. Like comp's great. Let's comp the shit out of things, but let's just leave some of our core mechanics in place. And tweaks are going to be necessary. I'm not taking away from that. Tweaks are absolutely going to be necessary, but let's just apply them with a steady hand. That's basically my takeaway. And I just want a unified community, man. I just want everyone to hug, bro. That's all.
I think. Look, ultimately,
I think you're on mute, Alistair.
He's on mute. He's on mute. Oh, he's saying, "All right, let's
Can
move
you
on."
hear me
I did
now?
my best Alistair impression. So I've purposely muted Alistair. Cetra's Fury has arrived now. Incredibly, we're back into this rhythm. I feel of GW that's going to finish out the year strong with old world releases, and this Arcane Journal I feel has been the subject of probably the most rumor mongering in the history of Warhammer Fantasy, because we've seen everything from there's going to be vampires in it, there's going to be savage orcs in it, there's going to be dogs of war in it, we're getting Tomb King factions, we're getting Slayer pirates, we're getting giants in Empire armies. The list can go on and on. I think there was even at one point a rumor about mixed arms of Tomb Kings and orcs coming together to go and fight parts of Cathay. And of course, much with the rumor mill, heavy doses of salt prevailed, and the clarity is now upon us. So I thought what we would do is just quickly run through the Arcane Journal. Unfortunately, we were really hoping that one of our favorite channels did their sneak peek, so we could do our hot takes on it. But we can have a quick chat anyway, because I think this is going to speak to the future of the old world as to where GW takes it. Now, first up is Cetra's army himself. I'm calling it the new Mortuary Cult because whilst they're not getting an Arcane Journal specifically, they are getting additional benefits into Tomb Kings, notably new models, and they're calling it the new mount, the Barter Skeletal Steed, which is a funny way of saying we just want to release new models and give you some extra ways to take your army, and new incantations. There are rumors about a flying War Sphinx, by the way. We'll wait to see if that comes too. But what I wanted to have a quick discussion here on was, normally we've seen the game come out and say, okay, if you want something new in your army, Tom, ogres, you need a proper Arcane Journal release, right? And now they're saying, well, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to release this book. There's no Armies of Infamy. It's literally a patch upgrade to the Tomb King's army without doing that.
So we spoke about this, I'm sure, maybe in episode 8 or 9, when we were looking forward to this particular release, and we were thinking about
I think that was when Gomer was on.
Yeah, what does the future of Warhammer: The Old World look like? And I think it's a worthwhile thing for us just to revisit. So the Arcane Journals are done, right? We've seen every active faction have their own Arcane Journal, have 2 Armies of Infamy, one in the case of Cathay, but they don't count. But everyone else getting 2 Armies of Infamy, some new units, handful of new magical items, a rehash of some rules or otherwise. And now there's the what's next. Now there's the traditional model that Games Workshop has, which is, well, great. Well, now we're going to start again, and we'll start re-releasing army books, and we'll do whatever. We spoke last time around. Well, does it mean that this new form of updating doesn't happen for the next 12 or 24 months. In fact, what we get are this series of narrative-specific Arcane Journal-esque tomes like Cetra's Crusade Through the Border Princes that help us establish the story setting throughout the rest of the old world before they launch into whatever next large model release / narrative drive that they have for the old world. And I think we said something along the lines of, well, it would be interesting ultimately to see how they end up blending factions together. And that said, we can talk about the next Arcane. Oh, sorry, the one of the armies of infamy that's coming in this. I don't think it's that surprising to think about it, both given the fact that there is a mercenary mechanic and an allies mechanic within the game that I think they appear to be quite interested in exploring.
Yep.
So
agreed.
I think the question becomes, and Chris, I suppose I'll ask you because you haven't had a chance to get a word in. What is your prediction ultimately for what Games Workshop is going to do in terms of army updates or releases for the next 12 months?
Good question. I'm always a GW pessimist. I've long held the view that their management is not the most switched on people in the world and the most organized people in the world. And I think the debacle around their factory opening a couple of years ago was kind of perfect evidence of that. There was a long delay in that, and that pushed back a whole bunch of releases. I think a huge part of how they operate, particularly with models, is someone in the sculpting department has a cool idea, sculpts a kit, hands it over to the designers and goes, you have to shove this into your game somehow. And then the designers have to scramble and try and figure it out. I don't think they want to release books like this that often because it's a hard sell, right? If you're not a Tomb King player, are you even touching this book? Even if you are a Tomb King player, are you bothering with this book? Like, probably not.
Well, that's an interesting sentiment because, of course, the armies of infamy. So, I mean, to Alex's point, Tomb Kings are getting new stuff, right? They're getting new models. They're getting maybe a couple new rules, but they're not getting a new army of infamy. The armies of infamy are not Tomb King's armies. So, I mean, to your point, maybe the approach then turns to let's load as much buckshot as we can in and see what we hit with a really broad approach to releases.
Yeah.
On
that, I think particularly with Old World, they're still finding their feet. They're still kind of seeing what works, right? Because while this is an old game in many ways, it is also a brand new product for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of testing the waters and seeing what'll work. And I suspect what'll happen is we're going to see some experiments over the next probably 12 to 18 months. They're going to try some things, and see what sticks. I think ultimately, as an old school kind of Warhammer Fantasy fan, I would love to see them shift more to almost bigger books, but less releases. So like the Storm of Chaos, that kind of like campaign books,
large campaigns.
Yeah, and then go, you know what, we're going to release like 5 or 6 units in this campaign book, plus update 5 armies at once, kind of thing. But
maybe that's how they bring back Legacy.
Yeah, and then instead of it going, we're going to do a release every 2 months, now it's like every quarter, maybe, or even for 6 months, right? Yeah.
That's awfully optimistic of you, Alex. So I think to talk more broadly around what this book contains, and I intimated it before, there are 2 armies of infamy coming, and neither one of them are Tomb Kings. Now, Alex, you're going to tell us what the rumor mill is telling us about rules, or are you telling us specifically what's in the book? for rules.
No,
for
I mean,
these.
look, we're going to find out. By the time this video comes out, probably the rules will be leaked. So basically, I think by now,
so that's an
everyone-
hour and 20 minutes that we can
Yeah.
no.
See you
no.
guys.
But the reality is, as I said at the start, this Renegade Crowns army was wish listed to be this massive, like dogs of war type of approach, and it still is going to be a very interesting exercise because unlike the Cathay Arcane Journal, which said you've got Cathay plus all of these like Empire mercs and those mechanics, the Renegade Crowns, our understanding is quite literally, it's Bretonnians and Empire jammed in together into a single list, and you can take units from both. Probably very similar to how Warriors of Chaos take units from the Beastmen.
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be interesting. We talked a little bit about this before we started recording. The Border Princes have for the lore fanatics among us, the Border Princes have a history of blending cultures and acting as a conglomeration of fiefdoms where anyone from anywhere, but particularly from the human kingdoms, come to sort of set up shop and do whatever. And I definitely think this little lore passage that you've included from the article update sort of lends itself towards that. We were looking at the picture, I think, as well, and you could see men-at-arms up the front, yeomen up the back. You've got the new outcast wizards up the back, and the Empire captain or Empire general with greatsword in the middle. You've got great swords. You've got the Imperial ogres that they've resurrected from the depths of hell. You've got handgunners. Yeah, you've got handgunners. You've got swordsmen, and then you've got Bretonnian knights. So those are definitely not Empire knights. Those are Bretonnian knights off on the right. And so it will be interesting to sort of see what this looks like and whether or not it ends up as some weird bastardization like Warriors of Chaos. The text itself, would you like me to read it, Tom? Or can I just
big
paraphrase? Time. Okay.
Well, maybe at least the last part.
Well, I'll read the relevant parts, hey?
Yeah, read the relevant part.
Used in conjunction with the Empire of Man army list. It contains rules and profiles for various units of sellsword infantry, freeblade knights, and hireling outriders led by renegade lords and outcast wizards, all of which can be further bolstered by mercenary units from among other arcane journals. So I wonder whether it is some weird conglomeration and then there's an enhanced mercenaries component similar to Jade Fleet or similar to Nuln when you run the Nuln special character, the mercenary character. It does say allow players to try all manner of tactics and to employ mercenary regiments from all over the Empire, Bretonnia, and beyond. Frankly, that doesn't tell us much because you can employ mercenaries from a lot of different things right now. Maybe the indication from this is that the roster of units, of mercenary units you can include is going to get a lot bigger.
Yeah. And if you want to believe in the rumor mill, Alistair, this is This is the quote from Chad. I don't actually know. So, old mate Chad from the Discord. Yeah, they're really sick. They're flexible Empire and Bretts and can take 33% of any mercenary unit in the game. Loads of builds and ways to make them competitive. Oh, and by the way, they've got an organ gun.
Fab. That's
tells us nothing.
So wonderful for them that they get the garbage version of the 2 multi-shot artillery pieces in the game. I think it'll be, my personal opinion is that I don't think it'll be quite the dogs of war that people have been clamoring for. I think it's unless they really do expand the mercenary units list.
I don't think so.
I mean, I just don't see how else it becomes so quote unquote versatile and modular and allows for a whole lot of different builds, right?
Yep. Well, let's move on to the important one, which is the Slayers are coming. Now, what do we need? Let's just think about the old world for a second, right? Because there's only 6 core factions. So GW has no experience with a fully unbreakable army outside of Tomb Kings, which they have their.
Did you just say 6 core factions?
Is it 6? What is it? 8 or 9?
No,
9 core factions. 9 core factions.
Don't write us comments. We corrected ourselves.
Yeah. And so the Unbreakable Dwarf Army is coming. And it's going to be an interesting one because, I mean, quite frankly, you don't need to rumor mill on this one. Allowing players to field units of Troll, Slayers, Giant Slayers, Dragon and Demon Slayers, Goblin Heroes, Doom Seekers, and inevitably some extra fluffy units, Brothers of Grimnir, etc. Unfortunately, I think that they've confirmed the Slayer Pirates are not in the book, which is the greatest tragedy, because those models were iconic. But it doesn't matter. So this is actually, I think, one of the easiest wins for GW they've ever had.
I'm really
the
curious.
The only issue, Chris,
is they have no armor.
No. Worse than that. I don't think they've actually released the Slayer models.
The original ones, I don't think so. So for my take, for my take on this, unless you get, let's be honest, a ward save that's half decent on this army, or maybe what's the death? Is it the Death Seeker rule where they don't count for points if they die?
They're reversed. If they're alive, they give you points. If they die, they don't.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but Slayers are basically unplayable right now. They are so bad because they basically have no save, and you're a dwarf trying to run into combat. How the hell do you get there when there's about 15 jade rings or whatever flinging spells at you?
I apologize. The Slayers were released. They're online only.
Right.
Okay. So I think that speaks to. I mean, Alex was talking to us about potential rules changes or updates, and one of them was
talk of a 6-up ward save.
Yeah, so a 6-up ward save, a potential movement update, so it's something to give them sort of movement 4, God forbid movement 5. But I agree, Chris. I think it's reprehensible to release an army like this and expect that it's going to be played globally.
The only wish, prayer, hope of all dwarf players around is that they get the Doomseeker mini Swift Stride for plus D3.
I still don't think it's enough, Alex. You've got a toughness 4 body with a single wound and a 6+ ward save. I mean, you've played my Outriders, right? You know what that feels like when you have armor. Imagine doing that.
Unfortunately, if that's what it sits, you're going to need to go, okay, so I've got 3 units. One is 60 Troll Slayers. The other one's 80. And I'm just going to march forward in one single line.
And
anyway,
we'll get frenzy.
We'll report on this. So more things to talk about.
Just one more quick thing about those armies, because I think it is important to point out, and I know the stats have kind of reset and things are like we're in a new season, but I think it's pretty telling that a lot of those armies of renown are sitting at the bottom of the win rates. And part of that is like, it's a different way to play, but with some exceptions. I would like to see them get a bit more consistency on those.
I don't think anyone's had the bravery to play Null the way it needs to be played. All right, you just wait. Give me a chance to come to some events. All right, and we'll see how well Null does.
Yeah, but that's a good point, Chris. Actually, we could probably find the data on that, but not right now. Hobby. So mine are basically, because we didn't really have an episode. I think the last time, Tom, you and I recorded, 80% of my army was unpainted. And I literally would get home from work, put the kids to bed, and then spend 7 hours in the garage getting high on paint fumes as I would just spray paint everything, dunk it in the bucket of oil wash, and call it done. Now, there's 2 things on the side I'm very proud of. One is the flame effect in the middle, which was my first attempt at doing a flame. I'm that tragic Warhammer painter that's that's always done the inverse of what a real flame is, where it's like highlight the edges, but of course with a flame, the black smoke is at the edge and it's glowing in the core. So this was my first attempt, but I'm most proud of my blimp. Thank you, Alistair. After you said that I couldn't get it done, was completed. Ask me how many metallic bolts are in that thing to hold it together.
No, I want to know. I want to know when you put it on the kitchen scale, how much it weighed.
Oh, it was heavy, and that was thinned out too. But that thing's precariously on the battlefield, going, oh gosh, if that falls over, that's to obliterate your 400-point cathode balloon.
The moral of the story is, if you've painted your models and you appreciate them and you spent time and money on them, don't charge Alex's baggage train.
Don't go anywhere near the baggage train. It's like cerebral.
There's like a solid 30% chance that a 4-kilogram piece of resin is going to fall on your model.
Yes.
Insane.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so I had the pleasure of building 60 Noblars, and the baggage train that I thought that I was going to make just turned out to be far too big. So I ended up making a tent, and I'm actually really happy with how that worked. It looks really, really good, and I can't wait to paint that up. There's a little Noblar man on the table, and I'm going to have some Noblars in the front arguing over some scraps of meat or something like that. It's going to be really cool. And I took the opportunity to fix the weapon on the Stonehorn that Alex printed for me, which is absolutely beautiful, but it would have this little flimsy spear that kept bending and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, it bent and then it snapped and yada, yada, yada. And it didn't have like a full sort of leg piece anyway, I whacked a tenderizer on it because it's a big club.
Very good.
So that looks really cool now. And I can't wait to finish exams and paint the lot. We'll take the lot.
It's such a fabulous Stonehorn, that design as well.
Exactly.
I think your exceptionally large club is a great addition to it.
We should have scaled it up.
The club?
Maybe.
No, the Stonehorn.
The whole model.
I reckon it could be at least 20% larger.
This is like the opposite of what you say to me, Alex. Every time I ask you to print me something, it's, we got to scale it down. Can't be this big.
It doesn't look that big. But my Great Unclean one's 5% bigger than your dragon. Yeah.
I'm really
no one will be bigger than him. If I'm printing any of you guys' models, nothing will be bigger. Tell us, Chris, how was your enjoyment level painting 80 goblins?
Well, as our audience know, I am a painter at heart. It is my favorite part of the hobby, and I love nothing more than painting models. So when I was sitting there painting 40 fucking Noblars and slowly getting sicker and sicker as the week went on, it was a fucking struggle. I finished them, and and then effectively had to message John to be like, I'm not gonna spread my disease to everyone else at the event.
Worthy.
So unfortunately I had to pull out. But look, they're done now. I think I told the boys I'm about 80% through the baggage train and my butcher. So once I have all of that done and based, I'm gonna have like, I think 2,800 points of ogres kind of ready to go, which would be good. Which gives me some flexibility for future events. And interestingly, it means I'm probably coming to the end of my ogre hobby journey for now, unless things kind of change, which means that I'm going to have a bit more hobby time to maybe have a look at another army. So we're just going to have to see.
It better not be bloody Cathay, because then that'll be 2 for 2 that you bloody copied me on, and I won't be happy.
16 below.
Is that in between the other 9 systems that you're playing at the moment, Chris?
Yeah, well, let's not discuss CanCon and the rest of the year, but yes. No, I'll be at Moab, by the way, but I'm not playing Old World. I'm playing Shatterpoint. But yeah,
is that still going, is it?
Oh, yeah.
I thought after Tom left, it was like, nah. Okay, Alistair. What the hell is going on here?
This is what my hobby journey feels like at the moment. I
Can
still
we do
have.
that? Can we put moving pictures on these things?
It's the wonders of the 21st century, Thomas.
Jesus.
You'll never
Jesus
believe
H. Christ.
we can do speakies now too.
You're joking.
But
Australia has now
I still
received the GIF.
I still have 40 odd Empire cavalry to paint and 30 odd Empire infantry to paint, and I'm slowly making my way through those. But I feel events for this calendar year are coming to a bit of a close for us. We've got maybe one more event at the end of November. Shout out to the 2+ boys who are running a teams event, 1,000-point teams event, which Alex and I look like we're going to go to with some evil armies. So the Empire I'll continue to work on. I'm spending one night a week on hobby at this point because it's really all I can stand. But I am going to pivot somewhat on my hobby journey to something a little bit more achievable for this 1,000-point tournament, and that's updating some of the Dark Elves that I've got now in my wonderful glass cabinet sitting next to me just over here. And tonight, in fact, this evening, after my children had gone to bed, I spent a bit of time in the garage digging around in the boxes that I haven't touched since we moved here in April. Looking for a box that I had not opened in the best part of about 10 years. Because what I've dug out, you won't be able to see it. And for those of you on a non-visual medium, I am holding up a sprue. This sprue is one of the Dark Elf Black Ark Corsair infantry model sprues. I'm going to be trimming, dressing, painting 15 Black Ark Corsairs. I'm going to be updating a couple of monster model bases. And I'm going to get Alex to print me yet another Dark Elf Manticore over the next little while, at which I'm going to paint up and have prepped for the event at the end of November so I can run a bit of a Monster Mash list. And hopefully my hobby journey feels a little bit better than just wiping out on the first pudgy balloon.
When was the
Bring
last
fluffy
time?
lists.
Yeah.
Fluffy lists.
When was the last time you painted a Dark Elf model?
It would have been
the dragon?
This time last year when we were doing the
dragon.
first couple of Oldhammers, and I did a unit of 20 Blackguard, and I did the Black Dragon and the Sorceress on Pegasus. So I have recently done them, but it's probably been about 12 months since I painted a Dark Elf model. But it's certainly been the best part of about 10 or 15 years since I've assembled a off the sprue Dark Elf model. And you know how I can really tell that? It's because I've stabbed my thumb about 9 times this evening just trimming 5 sets of legs off a sprue, and I'm in so much pain. Like I've got
how many models? Sorry, is it?
I got
15?
15.
Tom, how many Noblars?
I don't want to talk about it.
Noblars have no detail, all right. Black Ark Corsairs, I can't apply the.
You ever heard of a mold line? You ever heard of one of those things?
Yeah, they've got plenty of them, Tom.
I haven't. I did want to shout out one thing about talking about hobby. I didn't put this in. Does anyone use brush cleaner?
Yes, and it is
This
amazing.
Is a product I cannot recommend more. Now, I'm like, unlike Tom, I buy like $8 brushes from Officeworks and normally throw them out, right?
Why are you targeting me there? You think I can afford fancy brushes?
I thought you had good brushes.
Living in a bloody basement.
I thought you had good brushes.
No, I do.
But this, the incredible brush cleaner, this is Chroma, and it's about $40 for the bottle. I think, Chris, maybe $50. But this bottle, you only need a little amount. And I tell you what, I had some of the most caked on. Yep, same one. Caked on.
That's crazy. How much money was it for a bottle?
$40.
Can you give me a little sip?
Don't drink it
in the future.
You can probably have the half of that, Tom.
Pop it in
it
a
will
Ziploc
last you
bag.
the whole year. You need a tiny amount, but this brush was basically rock solid couldn't move, and now it's back to absolute.
So can I offer
Perfect.
I appreciate that you're plugging brush cleaner. Can I offer an alternate strategy?
Dishwasher soap.
Buy new
Okay.
brushes.
No, can you just clean your brushes every time you use them, please? Can you just make sure
So
the
I
brushes
will-
are
It
actually
Doesn't
clean?
work. Doesn't work.
I would like to point out one thing, Alistair.
Throw things at
Or-
Alistair.
hang on.
Throw things at him.
Hang on. Or alternately, do what I did, and when you order your Temu airbrush, just order 10 of the same brush.
So you hate the
at the
environment,
same
is that it, Alistair? Is
So,
that what you're saying?
I mean, look. This has been
You're
while
right.
we're on the
We're a
subject
lefty
of-
podcast.
Yeah.
while
Jesus.
we're on the subject of hobby, this has been one of the singular best purchases that I have made in the last probably 5 years of hobby. This is a $38 chargeable plug-in electric compressor airbrush from Temu. It probably the biggest difference from like your traditional air compressor airbrush is it tends to have a bit more of a clogging issue, because this little compressor, once you turn it on, doesn't turn off. And so it just keeps going and it keeps continuously blowing air through. So you need to be a bit circumspect about how you're applying paint. And I think that's the only issue with it. But otherwise, this has been better than the $400 airbrush that we bought back in 2015 or 2014. And this is $38.
Good fun.
Literally,
okay.
you charge it overnight, and then you use it however you use it. You clean it, you put it back together, and it's sort of ready to go. So would highly. I mean, this is another episode of Alistair's recommendation of unethical products. Guaranteed, some Uyghur has put this together in a Chinese factory, and I'm gonna get cancelled.
Alistair, you need to be careful with the words that you say around that thing, because if you say the wrong words, it's just going to explode. But just to step back to Alex's point, I am disgusting with my brushes. I have really bad paint control, and I usually end up with paint right up at the femoral, whatever it's called, at the very tip. Nightmare.
I nearly said frenulum, but I don't think
No,
that's...
I don't know that's the right word.
This is my paint water.
Yeah, but when
I
I
haven't changed that. Like
I drink it.
I
Drink
used to smash through the brushes, and then finally a painting friend was like, "Man, you should go get some like Winsor Newtons, like some decent brushes." And when I went down that pathway, I'm like, "Look, I really don't want to fuck these ones up. Let's go get the brush cleaner." And I also got this is brush, I guess wax almost. So this is good for after you clean them. If you need to reform the tip, you can kind of work this in there, and then it'll hold it a bit better. But
settle down.
Just can you be a little bit mature for about 30 seconds?
We've been doing this for nearly 2 hours now, I think.
The point is, when you take the 30 seconds to actually like clean them properly, not all the time, every once in a while, and like maintain the brushes, it just they last so long.
It's the dry brushes that get the most clogged. So I find.
Does it take you 30 seconds to clean it up, Tom?
All right, let's stop.
All right, I'm gonna lose my absolute mind. Okay.
All right. So we've lost everyone and all of our subscribers and Patreons by now.
And on that happy note, it's time to call it into the episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you've made it this far and honestly like soldiered through the cringe of the last 15 minutes,
you should probably get help.
We very much appreciate you. We've mentioned a couple of things. We've mentioned the 2+ event coming at the end of November. We'll maybe pop a link to that event in the show notes. We've also mentioned episode 9, I think, or one of the more frequent episodes. We'll pop those in the show notes as well at the appropriate times. The wonderful person editing this video will do so. But otherwise, I think it's that's it, right? That's where we should leave it. Thank you so much for listening, wherever you're listening from. We very much appreciate you. Thank you. Big shout out to our Patreons and to our wonderful 25 Creative. Next episode, I think we've got a very special guest. Now, I'm not going to steal your thunder, Alex, because I know that this is something you've worked very hard towards. Would you like to tease that now, or shall we leave it?
We shall leave it as a surprise.
Okay. Very special guest coming up. Keep your eye out for episode 13 of the Old World Behemoths podcast. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate you. We will catch you next time. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Good night.